Welcome to Project Publish, the reality show for writers and performers. I'm your host, Richard Graves, and I'm here with our 6 remaining contestants, Trevor Rodemaker, Laurie O'Connor-Stephens, and Ren Roberts, and our 3 performers, Rebin Roy, and the 2 brothers, the Poulos brothers, Steve and Eric. At the end of last week's show, we randomly paired these writers and performers, and we issued a writing challenge. This week is Storyteller Week. The writer had 3 days to write a script, then they met on Wednesday with the performers to collaborate, and they had until midnight to make changes and submit their finished manuscripts. The performer then had 3 days to memorize lines, decide on costume and props, and to hone their presentations. And you'll see those performances live in just a few minutes. Trevor, with just the 6 of you, is the competition hotting up?
I have been terrified. I have been pacing the floor and pestering friends and family, but I brought my A game. Okay, good. And Laurie, you made the bottom 2 last week, so did that put extra pressure on you?
Well, it was a little extra pressure. Last week I was thrilled to come in 3rd, but that's not going to work so well this week. So I just did the very best I could, and I'm hoping for a little measure of luck of the Irish here on this high holy day today.
And you're wearing the right color.
Right.
That's good, yeah. Ren, now you've brought us some stories from the dark side. Is that continue this week?
Yes. It's what I feel comfortable writing. It's what I know, and I strongly believe in writing what you know. And it's what I'm interested in, seeing the dark things that lie within people.
Okay, let's try our performers here. Rebin, now you're working with Ren, so when you saw her script for the first time this Wednesday, what did you think?
Well, I think Ren's a great writer, but we're clearly polar opposites, and I thought we were going to have something in the middle of what we both like, but we went with what Ren likes to write about, and I hope to do that justice today.
Okay, Steve, you were another person in the bottom 2 last week, so do you feel the pressure?
You know what? I feel some of the pressure, but honestly, I'm taking that pressure and I'm turning it into perseverance. I'm really going to try to give the best performance I've given out of all of the performances that I've done. I've not only worked on characterization intensely, I've worked on the ebb and flow of the piece and just how it should turn out according to the writer's will. And I really enjoyed my piece this week and how marvelous it is. So I really hope I get to do it justice. So.
Okay, and Eric. Are you looking to take out Steve this week, or are you still hoping for a final showdown?
Well, if I do take him out this week, then I'll only have to hear about it throughout the next week. But you know what? If we do have a final showdown, it'll be almost like a war at home.
It will.
Okay. So thanks, guys. Let's take a look at the previous 2 shows and some of the highlights that brought us to where we are today. Roll the tape. First up are Trevor Rodemaker and Rebin Roy.
My little sister hadn't died in vain. People were going to pay. Powerful men would come down, and City Hall would never be the same.
Drop the style and just go for what do I want.
Diane Lincoln and Eric Poulos.
I like her work. I think she just needs to have more confidence in herself.
Everybody says that about me.
She keeps second-guessing herself, and you know what? Everything's fine.
Professor Anderson knew he needed to act quickly, but he didn't know just how quickly. He had no idea the dog this morning was not the only witness to its events.
Those are items that may intrigue the reader enough, or it may leave them wanting just a little bit more.
Good evening.
This has been the best challenge that we've had so far, so I'm pretty excited.
Smile, you disgusting contagion.
Where did the idea for your novel, your opening scene, come from?
It came from my mind, clearly, from a sleep-deprived, stressed mind.
Laurie O'Connor-Stephens and Crystal Skipworth.
It's just, it's a women's show to write.
It is, we need more women on TV. This is our time to shine.
Her smile radiating innocence and hope. Charlie added the picture to the gallery of other young women and put a pin in the map of the city posted next to the photos.
I think it was pretty one note through the whole thing. I didn't get a lot of connection with the material this time, so.
I'll say one more thing. If you ever stumble over your words, just begin again. Yeah. Don't say, excuse me, don't ever apologize.
Judge Bingle, give us your reasoning and your final verdict, please.
Well, I know that Ashley probably is frustrated at being in the bottom 2, but I guess I want to say that every week that happens, it means she actually has to move up a spot in order for that to continue happening. And that's going to be true again this week because I'm sorry, Diane, your story ends here.
Amber, please give us your rationale and your final verdict.
Oh, this was tough. Both of us were like banging our heads together. Both of you worked really hard with the material you had, but I'm sorry, Crystal, we think that you're going to be going home this week.
Are Laurie O'Connor-Stephens and Steve Polis.
Phase 1 of the operation has commenced. The test site, Batavia, Illinois.
Ashley Welsh and Eric Polis.
What's your name? You're not a Metlian. A what? See, I knew that. You have no horns or dorsal line or anything cool. What are you, an idiot? What on earth are you talking about? Earth?
I do have to say that it was absolutely clear in the performance who was talking. In the written version, that was not always as clear.
Ren Roberts and Rebin Roy.
One of the big projects that I worked on when I was in college was this big, plotty, bombastic science fiction thriller involving robots and murder plots and Russians.
To have input from the writer, because I want to make sure that I'm bringing the words that they put on the paper to life. Can we not memorize the script?
Who are you? Nothing's making sense. What's happening? Help, help.
So Trevor Rodemaker and Ethan Mole.
I opened my mouth to speak, but he held up a warning hand, checked a couple of readouts, and flipped the switch on a little speaker. Tinny technopop suddenly filled the little cabin, along with an annoying sound of static. Can you please turn that off? I asked.
Use breath instead of running one sentence into the next one and the next one. Unless there was a sense of urgency, I would give it some time to breathe.
Bottom line is that execution is what it comes down to if you want to be a published writer. And for that reason, I'm sorry, Ashley, but your story ends here.
For this week, Ethan, it's the end this week for you. I'm so sorry, but you worked hard.
Let's welcome our judges. First, our judge who focuses on the writer's scripts, a published author who lives in St. Charles, Don Bingle. Don, tell us what makes a good story?
Well, as a storyteller, you want to keep your audience constantly enthralled. You want the reader or the audience to be waiting to see what happens next. It means you have to manage the level between anticipation and frustration. You have to give them, you know, enough information that they don't get frustrated, but not so much that that they think that they've figured everything out and there's nothing more that they want to find out.
Okay, and our next judge is our guest judge for this week, Danielle Tufano. You're more likely to recognize a voice than a face. She hosts the midday show on 95.9 The River in Aurora. Danielle, thank you for coming to Project Publish. Now, in your bio, you claim to like beer, thunderstorms, and sleep, I think in that order. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, it doesn't necessarily need to be in that order. It depends on the kind of night that you're having. But, you know, it's the simple things. And lately, I haven't been able to enjoy the thunderstorms as much because my dog is terrified of them. So I just drink more to kind of round it all out. But it's the simple things.
Okay, and in your bio, you also mentioned that you invented the internet. Tell us about that.
That was actually made up. I mean, it's on the internet, so it's technically true because everything's on the internet. So don't tell Al Gore that I said that. But it was more, I'm not that interesting of a person. I don't have that many hobbies. So I figured just putting that I like beer, thunderstorms, and sleep would make me sound like an alcoholic that likes to hang outside and fall asleep on the grass. So I kind of just added that in there.
So you're a friend of Al Gore's, are you?
Maybe. Put that on the internet, it'll be true.
Okay. Be serious. What are you looking for today from our performers?
Well, obviously the people that are sitting on either side of me are the professionals with writing and performing. So what I'm looking for is what I do for a living, entertaining. I want somebody that grabs my attention, somebody who tonight when I'm at home eating my corned beef and cabbage dinner and drinking my Guinness, I remember that was a great performance or that was really written well. I want that to grab me.
Thank you, Danielle. And our third judge is Amber Mitchell. She focuses on our performers. So Amber, what makes for a good storyteller?
Well, for them, I'm hoping to see a lot of characterization so that they can stay in the moment, but I want to hear the voice of the writer as opposed to seeing an actor reading or interpreting something. I want them to be the piece, and I don't want the exposition to drag them astray from the immediacy of the story.
Okay, so let's see if our performers deliver what our judges are looking for. First up is Eric Polis, and he's performing a piece by Laurie O'Connor-Stephens. Here are their thoughts on week 6 of Project Publish when they met midweek. Roll the tape.
When we got the challenge on Sunday, I was really excited because I thought, oh, this will be so much easier than these other real specific challenges. And it ended up being very hard because there was just so much to choose from. I knew that I had a good actor. We haven't worked together before, but I knew that he was up to any challenge. I've been a writer for 35 years, but I've done more creative writing in this competition than I probably have in all that time put together.
I've never exactly pictured myself as becoming a storyteller.
We had that great challenge a couple weeks ago to write the 3-minute opening scene to a thriller novel. So I figure all I have to do is tack 200 or 300 pages onto the end of that, and then I'll be all set.
Okay, Laurie, you made the final 3. How do you feel about that?
Oh, that's fantastic. I'm really thrilled.
Okay, and tell us about the story you've written for Eric to tell us.
Okay, well, I went with, we were supposed to pick a classic storyteller, so I picked a modern-day storyteller, and part of the prompt, he's not really a storyteller that's dependent on income, but rather a storyteller that needs to be really great to live to tell the story another day. So that's what I focused on. And I had a little revelation this morning that that's kind of the theme of our show this week, too. So I don't know if the judges put that in on purpose or if that was subliminal or just a coincidence.
Okay, well, let's hear Eric perform. Eric, your time starts now.
A dozen pairs of eyes followed me as I approached the bench and took my seat. This isn't a jury of my peers, I thought, but it was too late to do anything about it. It was time to tell my story, and I knew there was no room for error. For every word, every gesture, every emotion would be scrutinized, and I knew I only had one chance to get it right. I took a deep breath and began. I drove home from work on Thursday at my usual time on my usual route in the late winter darkness. Originally, I was going to pick up my brother from his job on my way home, but he got home early, so he said to meet me at the house. So I drove, and I saw this red truck on the street corner. I pulled into the driveway, hit the button for the garage, but nothing happened. I noticed that the house was dark as well. Something must have made the electricity turn off. I wondered why Jeff would be sitting inside in the dark, but then I realized it would be too cold for him to sit outside in the cold, so I took a drink of water and then stole a glance at the audience. They're buying it. I may get out of this one alive just yet. I continued my story. Since I couldn't go through the garage, I went to the front door. The reflection of the full moon off the snow acted like a spotlight, and I saw movement in the living room. I called for Jeff, but I heard no answer. Why would he go further into the dark house? I called him again. But why wouldn't he answer me? The house wasn't that big. It was also very cold in the house, so cold that it would be as if the furnace turned off when the electricity turned off. But why wouldn't Jeff be just sitting in his truck with the heat going? I went to the closet and got my flashlight. The narrow beam was so small that it didn't really show me much. As I went through the house, I felt a chill, but it wasn't from the cold. Something was wrong. Something was very wrong. I turned the flashlight towards the kitchen, and that's when I saw it. A red line on the floor, as if a design on the tile. But then I realized I don't have a design on my kitchen room tile. It was blood! I paused. In the corner of my eye, I saw part of the audience jump. It was hard for me not to smile as I turned back. I wanted to run out of the house, but I needed to find Jeff. I had no choice but to get into the kitchen, to get close to the doorway, and then I saw it. A man's outstretched body lying face down on the floor, swimming in a lake of blood. I was terrified and afraid, but I thought I would be sick. I had to see his face. I reached down to turn the body over. And then I felt a hand on my shoulder! Instantly, a chorus of questions erupted from the boys. What happened next? Was it a zombie? Who is dead? Where's Jeff? I let them finish before I stopped them. Well, men, those are all very good questions. Stow your gear from dinner and get the area policed. I'll tell you the rest of the story when you get back, so you all can have sweet dreams. A small groan went through the crowd, but they got their work done. A little boy named Dylan came up to me and said, "Gee, mister, you tell the best ghost stories any scoutmaster ever has." Scene.
This story has some okay tension, although it's a bit stretched at points. I would rather have had a story about a ghost told by the storyteller than a story about a storyteller telling the story, which then doesn't get finished and again has what I consider to be a weak reveal because it's dependent on the absence of visual cues for the listener. So there's no really true end to the ghost story. Lori, you tend a little bit towards shorter stories and a little bit on the cute side. And I was really hopeful that you were going to be a little bit edgier with this piece, so a little disappointed by that. Danielle?
I was really drawn in by the writing and the performing. I think that you guys did a really great job keeping us interested in what was happening next because we didn't know, and then the surprise at the end. I wanted to hear the end of the story. I wanted to keep watching, and you're a great performer.
Well, I think that the story was kind of light, so it was taken almost tongue-in-cheek, and I'm hoping that's what you were going for when you did it, because it was kind of supposed to be overdone since it was a camp story. That's what I took from it. It was nice working in the prop. It would have been nice for the asides as the storyteller to see a more clear designation between when the story was occurring and when the storyteller was removing themselves from the situation to gauge the audience that was hearing the story. It was good to do the reveal of the. I kind of figured it out, but I thought that was really a nice little reveal you did there. You succeeded with the material. It wasn't as strong as I'd like it to be, but I liked what you did with it. It was good.
That's it from the judges, Richard.
Okay, next up we have Steve Polis performing a piece by Trevor Rodemaker. Let's hear their thoughts midweek.
Are you excited?
Excited. I felt very connected to the piece on both sides. I like portraying both aspects of the rich and the poor, those who have and have not. So it's very. I really enjoy how it flowed. And that was my personal favorite. I really enjoyed the poetry competition.
Really wanted to write something especially for Steve, and I spent a lot of time and effort thinking what would best show off his skills.
We use it as a great reference, and I would plan on trying to get into bigger, better things in Chicago, or possibly even television itself.
Oh, absolutely. I've got it sitting right home on my computer, all set to go. Pirates.
Trevor, tell us about your piece and why you chose the setting.
Well, part of our assignment was to make our performer look good, and Steve loves the theater. So when I think theater, darn it, I think Shakespeare. So I have set my piece back in Elizabethan England, and I hope that people will enjoy it.
Okay, Steve, your time starts now.
Tapster, a dram of your best brew. I have just now returned from trotting on the boards of theatre. I seek refreshment for a throat parched as desert sands. Coin? I have none. But if you'll stand me to a single dram, I shall tell a tale worth 20. And draw a listening crowd to drink your tavern dry. Thanks, kind sir. A toast unto your health. And you, there, gather round so you might hear. I pass my hat. Pray honor me with coin. My tale begins this morn. The setting is the Globe. Will had a play, and we were well rehearsed. And then the actor Tom took sudden ill. The play would soon open. The players must invent. Will chose to mime Tom's part, the Queen. I took Will's place to play Macduff, a rise in fame befitting to my skill. The curtain rose, the groundlings did applaud. Deep in Scottish Heath did 3 weird sisters prophesy. At this a problem did arise. A bottle in the cauldron I had hid. And now in cauldron fire was lit. The liquor forth and scarlet fury blazed. The players gasped. But the stagehands loosened our patent cloudburst. To quench it, actors, stage, cauldron, all were drenched. An opening found when the Lady M comes to her husband drenched in blood. A spying near, a wandering hound, I coaxed it to the stage. Upon her heels, the watching people roared with glee. When Banquo's ghost did haunt the dinner scene, I struck again. Banquo was meant to be a silent ghost and trail his shroud upon the stage. 'Twas simple then to trip him up. By now, the upper tier was laughing, glad as children. Then, wanting courage for my duel, the fight between Macduff and Scottish King, I sought wine, found flask, and in my shirt did hide the goods. My work was near. The Lady M had leapt unto her death and missed. And Birnam Wood had come to Dunsinane. I faced the Scottish King, drew sword and spoke my lines. By now the comedy was easy, and laughter rang the very walls. My enemy attacked with gritted teeth, and slashing sword I was thrown back, and upon the dampened boards I tripped. His sword struck home, my flask broke and shattered upon dripping redly from my breast. My character Macduff did make his face and fall. The Scottish King did triumph. My character Macduff, the viewers gave a hearty cheer, and as soon as we took our bows, Will broke upon the stage. Trailing ladies' robes, he drew a knife, eyes wild as the mad woman he was meant to be. When last I saw, his sleeve caught torch, and he was tearing at his gown. If you should gaze into the street, you'll see the theater burning still. Alas, it was not planned so. I fear I may have lost my good employ, and yet this was my first attempt to fix a broken play. Here ends my tale, and I will ask perchance, my hat may be returned with coin? It has been stolen. Alas, such is an actor's lot. Another dram, please, tapster, and this one I shall earn with song. Scene.
This is a very well-written piece. It's well fit to the challenge. It was well performed, well matched to the actor. This is clean. This is funny. This is erudite. Altogether, I am very, very pleased with the piece and the performance.
I agree. And you know, I actually wrote down, I don't know you, Steve, but it's really great. You know it's going to be great when it seems like the writing is written around the actor. I don't know you, but it seems like you were perfectly fit for what you just did. It was very easy to follow along with and creatively written and performed very well.
It was very good. It was a nice pairing between the two of you. You worked well together in the piece. I think sometimes it's a little hard with a Shakespearean type piece to make sure that you're not acting what people think Shakespeare is as opposed to what Shakespeare really is. So there's that was a real clever line sometimes you were walking where I was a little worried about you going over the edge doing what you thought Shakespeare would be as opposed to experiencing what Shakespeare's world would have been. But overall, a really nice job.
That's it from here. Okay,
just to let your judges know that they did go over about 10 seconds on that performance over the time limit, if that's of import. So our final contestants are Ren Roberts and Rebin Roy. Let's hear what they have to say in midweek.
The eye that we've been having today is that our senses of humor are very different. So that's been a little difficult trying to see, okay, well, what's funny to Rebin, what's funny to Ren, and how can we make this work? Okay, you used to think that I'm a wolf, which, like, that's animalistic and that's just really absurd. Like, you must be having some crazy hallucinations here. You think I'm a wolf.
I've only had 10 acting classes, so the fact that I can, yeah, I'm not an actor. I've never, I'm not an actor, I'm a computer programmer, so this is really out of the box for me, so I'm proud of it all.
I'm actually taking this summer off. It's the first summer I've had off since I was 15 to finish writing the first novel in a science fiction trilogy for young adults about time travel. Like, that's the whole thing is like an adjective for crazy.
Okay, Ren, tell us about your piece this week.
I brought a piece of stand-up comedy. I had spoken to Rebin about how that's what she likes to do in her time off, so I did hopefully what'll be a funny story.
Okay, Rebin, your time starts now.
I'm convinced every woman has a crazy ex. You've got your baptism, your sweet 16, and your ex-murderer ex-boyfriend. But in my case, he was actually crazy. Like, I think you're an FBI agent trying to kill me in my sleep, so I'm gonna hide all night in a bathtub with a plastic knife, kind of crazy. So instead of seeing that giant red flag, I thought, oh good, he no longer thinks I'm a werewolf. Progress. Yeah, he was a real keeper. So much so that I moved in with him 2 years after that. That studio was beautiful, and it was supposed to change everything, and it did. A month after we moved in, well, I've seen houses on hoarders that are cleaner. And at this point, Luke was regularly threatening to jump into the Hudson and would take me with him. But I thought it was normal to be bathing your boyfriend, begging him to eat, and fighting him off on the occasion he was trying to choke you. Potatoes, potatoes. That's why I'm not sure I was surprised or even upset when I woke up one morning to find everything, including Luke, missing. No note, no text, nothing. He had just vanished. And so had my Xbox. That's probably why I was upset. So thus commenced 4 days of complete and total denial. I went to lunch with my best friend, went to class, and acted as if everything was normal, and it was. But I secretly spent my free time scanning Google for reports of bodies found in the Hudson, hopefully with an Xbox. And wondering why he hadn't taken me with him. Promises are promises. 4 days later, he calls me like nothing is wrong. He says he's in Arizona. He's never coming back to New York. He says nothing of my Xbox. Then he calls all our friends, my friends really, and says that I'm trying to kill him by order of the president. And they all stop talking to me. Somehow I'm the crazy one. That's when I stopped sleeping and realized what he meant by taking me with him. All that time in our dingy little apartment, we'd never been together. We couldn't have been farther apart. If he hadn't left, I never would have known how frightening yet comforting a city could be. But I inherited more than his suicidal ideation. I became convinced that the universe was talking to me through numbers on license plates, because that makes sense. The DMV totally issued all these plates years in advance just to let me know everything would be okay. I would sit on the 103 and read every car from First Avenue all the way to 77th. Pro tip, the reading gets real interesting around the United Nations. I don't think license plates are trying to talk to me anymore. And I'll go months without thinking of him, but I'm grateful for that experience. I may never forgive the larceny of my Xbox, but the kindest, most compassionate thing anyone has ever done for me, hands down, was his decision to leave. If he hadn't left, I never would have learned how to live. Or laugh. Or how not to be a werewolf. See?
This is inventive, it's wry, it's self-deprecating, it's funny. I love the Xbox running joke. I love the license plate routine. My favorite line is during that where it says, because that makes sense. That's just, I think it's very well written. There are even a few more lines in this that were apparently cut for time. They were also excellent. This is another strong piece, another very inventive piece, and I was very happy with it. Danielle?
Very relatable, very creative, what you did. And for the theme choice, you said that you guys went more towards Ren style, and it seemed like you were totally comfortable still doing that, playing a crazy woman who was made crazy by her crazy ex-boyfriend, which I'm totally aware of that situation. I've been there, done that, so great job.
I really like the idea that it was a realistic monologue approach to the piece. So I knew who you were as opposed to who Ren was trying to be you. It was you, seriously, when I was watching it. I liked it a lot. It was so good to see that dark and light balance in the writing, and you reflected that in your acting. The humor was handled really well. We weren't, slapped in the face with it. It was undermining the story as far as it was always there, and you were hoping she would recover, and she kind of did at the end. And the license plate bit was wonderful. I love that. So good job, guys. Good job.
That's it from the judges, Richard.
Okay, now we move to the hard part of the show where we send 2 of these 6 contestants home. While our judges deliberate, let's take a look at the prizes our winners will receive for winning the show. Roll that tape.
The winners of Project Publish will get more than bragging rights with a meal at the popular Gammon Coach House, VIP all-access passes to the Geneva Film Festival, a Kay Hollis original, self-publishing guidance for a book on Amazon by Kevin Moriarty, exclusive participant t-shirts by Johnny Zabka of Spirit Corner, an interview with Rick Hollinger of the Kane County Chronicle, short story critique by well-known fantasy writer Gene Raby, and $50 gift certificates for Steel Beam Theater in St. Charles, and one-on-one coaching sessions with Lori Holm, manager of Troop Strozzi.
In a few moments, Don Bingle will announce which 2 writers will go through to our grand finale, and Amber Mitchell will announce which 2 performers go through. This is the last week our judges will make those decisions. Next week, for our final show, you, the viewers, will help make that decision. You will get to vote via social media to decide the winner, the winning writer and the winning performer of Project Publish. To take part in that vote, you must join our Project Publish Facebook group. From Facebook, search for Project Publish and request to join the group. You will receive a Facebook response to that request. During the live final show, after the performances are complete, we will open the voting for a 10-minute period. So please be ready to vote for your favorite writer and your favorite performer during that time. We will also have a studio audience for the final show, and we will be including their votes as well. So let's go to Don Bingle for the results. Tell us, Don, who the best writers were this week.
Well, this week we have to go with the pieces that met the challenge the best, that were the most inventive, the most exciting, and the most creative. And I do think that the top 2 were very nice pieces. So our finalists on the writing side are Ren and Treva. And I'm sorry, Lori, but your story ends here.
Okay, now for the performers. Amber Mitchell, give us your reasoning and your verdict for the performers, please.
This was incredibly tough. I'm very serious here. This was tough. And it came down to everybody did a wonderful job. I'm just going to preface it with that, seriously. But the weakest link was the story at this point that was not helping the actor out. And so, Eric, I'm sorry. This is the end of your journey. The other 2 were wonderful. Steve and Rebin, you were all great, but the material didn't help Eric out. And he worked as hard as he could with it, but it wasn't to his benefit. So,
okay. Eric and Laurie, it's sad to see you go. Yeah. And you've been great performers. So take a moment to say thank you to your supporters, and there you go.
Well, I really appreciate this opportunity. It's allowed me to do a lot of writing that I've never ever done before, so I was, really happy to get this far. And I just need Don to, give me a prompt every week from now on and just send it to my email, and then I'll be able to keep writing. I do feel terrible that my writing was part of the reason that Eric went home, because he did a great job with it, and I'm sorry it wasn't strong enough to keep him in the running. But I'm glad I didn't have to make the decision this week, because I thought all 3 performances were excellent.
Okay. Eric, your chance to say something to your supporters.
This has been a wonderful experience. I'm glad to have made it this far. I'm sorry, Steve, but go on, keep fighting. And I was just happy to be part of it. Thank you for watching. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. And I have here a T-shirt for each of you. Wear them with pride, and a token of appreciation from our sponsors. So thank you very much, you two guys.
Okay.
Thank you. So you guys come in a little bit closer. So here, ladies and gentlemen, here are the 4 final contestants who will compete next week in the Project Publish Grand Finale. Next week, there are going to be 2 challenges. So each writer must write 2 pieces, and each performer will perform 2 pieces. And we will switch partners in between those 2 challenges, so that there's nothing like we saw perhaps a little bit just then, where the writing and the performing were a little bit interlinked. So each writer will have a chance to write for each performer. One of the challenges is simple, and the other is something that Don Bingle said was a real challenge. So Don, give us the challenges.
Well, because we're going to have 2 challenges for the writers this week, we actually gave them the first challenge last Wednesday at the session so that they could start to work on that. And that is for a 4-minute piece of their choice, whether new, written for this, or previously written. Basically, we want the best 500 or so words that you've ever written. That's your 4-minute piece. Then we're going to switch partners, and for your 3-minute piece, we want a unique twist on a classic fairy tale. Dark, whimsical, childish, or grim.
Thank you, Don. So, what do you guys think about that? Trevor, any comments?
Well, that's pretty exciting. Fairy tale, a lot of different things have been done with fairy tales over the years. They've been around a long time, so the brain is hard at work right now.
Ren, any comments?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is going to be a great challenge because there's so much to do and there's so much to work with, and there's so many possibilities. I'm still trying to track what's happening.
Okay. And when that thing comes up, tell us the best 500 words you've ever written. Does something come to mind, or do you really struggle to find that?
I've got a couple of pieces in my back pocket that I'm looking at that from the past to maybe revise and shorten up a bit. I don't know. We'll see.
And Trevor, in the piece we saw earlier on the video, you mentioned pirates. Tell us a little bit more about that. Is that where your 500 words are?
Oh, I'm certainly hoping so. I have, if I win the publication, I've got pirates ready to publish. And, everybody loves a pirate, so I think that might be a good place to lead off with. Arr.
Thank you. Okay, and you guys, Rebin, how did that performance go for you? That was...
I don't know. I don't remember it. I'm ready for a cup of coffee and a beer.
Okay, so what are you thinking about fairy stories? And,
well, I am actually really excited about that because I have 3 children and they haven't exactly been able to really relate to the pieces that I've been doing. So, maybe it would be something that I could tell them, and maybe in a child's version.
So if it's Ren and she writes you something really dark, that would be good for your kids,
you know
yeah?
what? I could probably find a way to change my voice to make it,
Okay, and Steve, you've been in the bottom 2, and now you're here in the final. Tell us about that experience.
I told you I felt very, very, very confident about my piece. I mean, I worked tirelessly on it. I mean, I felt as though that I really came forward. I showed a lot of range, and I really felt comfortable with it. I'm just incredibly incredibly saddened that my brother will not be there in the final. I'm really glad I have Ren, but but I'm very, very, very just disappointed. I miss the fact that I don't get to compete with my brother. But you know what? I'm going to go out there. I'm going to give it my all. I'm going to try the best I can, and hopefully, come next week, I'm going to try the best I can to be on the top. And then, like she said, I'm going to go out after this.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, next week promises to be an epic finale to Project Publish. We have a face-off between two excellent writers and two excellent performers. We will also have some other surprises to entertain you while the judges deliberate. So join us next Sunday at 2 p.m. for the grand finale of Project Publish and see which writer and which performers are victorious. Remember to join the Project Publish Facebook group so you can vote for your favorite writer and your favorite performer. Thank you for watching, and please tell your neighbor. I'm Richard Graves, and I'll see you next week. Thank you.